feel like Leonard. You know, anyway, that's not the point. It's not that I feel like Leonard. Sometimes I just say random stray things right off the bat. And you know why? Because I'm not sane. Look, I want to talk about sanity. Sanity is a concept. It's not a physical thing in the world. Just like ridiculousness is not a physical thing in the world. You can't, can you actually measure ridiculousness? Like, you know, let's say if two people were doing something. You saw two people out in the streets doing something. And they both, whatever they were doing, whatever it is, they were both ridiculous. You know, both of them were ridiculous. But one of them was twice as ridiculous as the other. How would you know? How would you know, it's just like if two people were doing something that was very sensible, but one of them was doing something that was twice as sensible as the other. How would you know? See, I kind of think that those things don't exist physically. It's not what sensible stuff are and what sanity is and what is ridiculous are really just judgments that we make. You see, we're judging things that we observe in reality as being sensible or ridiculous or even being evil or being good. And those are judgments, and that's okay. And that's a good thing sometimes, many times, to make a clear distinction. You know, it's ridiculous to pick up a big pile of dog poop and rub it in your hair. That's ridiculous. You know, that's ridiculous. And I think that's twice as ridiculous as wearing a really bad hairdo. You know, somebody has a hairdo and then they paint it 15 different colors. And they go to an office, you know, they go and apply for a job. That's ridiculous, but I think rubbing a dog poop is even more ridiculous. And then going to the job interview. So we kind of, in our minds, have this kind of idea of some things being more ridiculous than others, some things being more sensible. You know, you might go online to buy an airline ticket. Let's say if I was going to go to London, you know, and I go to this one website and I get the airfares for like half the price that the airlines sell it. But then somebody tells me about another airline, another website that has the tickets that's even like 1/10 of the price, and it's a legitimate thing. The airlines do it, but you have to get the ticket like, you know, there's certain restrictions, but that it might be more sensible. You save a lot of money, so we think that's more sensible. But in real life, we aren't really measuring those things, are we? We're kind of measuring, but it's not really like scientific measurements, you know. But it's judgments. At the end of the day, it all comes down to judging that something is sensible and something isn't sensible, or something is ridiculous and something is ridiculous, you know. And I think about a lot of things I've done in my life, you know, where I used to always judge myself as being silly or stupid or dumb or bad. I used to have a lot of negative judgments of myself. And I always tried to fit in like everybody else. And I realized that stressed me out. Many, many years ago, all those days when I used to go through the anxiety stuff, I've talked about that so many times, anxiety attacks, because I always had what I refer now to as the strain to be sane. I was straining to be sane, straining to be like everybody else, straining to fit in. And I realized I didn't fit in, you know. I could never fit in. I never fit in. I mean, I wasn't like a crazy person rubbing dog poop in my hair. You know, I got Missy over here. I don't, you know, Missy's, you know, little turds are safe. The thing is that even when I make my videos, I'm kind of like insane on my videos. Like my Death Row Final Meal video. I mean, that one, I had to turn off the comments because I was getting a lot of really nasty stuff. And some of the things people might have said were right because it seemed like I was making fun, but I wasn't. You know, but that was just, I was just being Philip. That was me being crazy that day. I never had any idea that thing would ever get 42,000 views like it has now. But I learned something, is that sometimes you have to be yourself. Be who you are. And stop straining to fit in all the time. Because sometimes that can drive you crazy. Straining to be sane can drive you crazy. It puts so much stress on you. And it's like an unfair stress. Why not just be who you are? You know? Stop straining to be sane. Stop straining to fit in. I mean, I try to fit in, I mean, I'm not going to go out and like cut people's heads off and stuff. Like, that's totally not fitting in. But, but I mean, barring crazy stuff like that, I mean, like really, dangerous things like that. Sometimes I like to do all kind of crazy things. I would travel somewhere just on a moment's notice like that. I'll be on a plane to Japan if I get the money to do it. Like I'll just decide that. Like when I went to Japan, I just decided, I knew I was going to go at some point in the future, but it was just like suddenly I just said, I'm going to go. I'm just going to go. And some people would criticize it. Philip, that's irresponsible. That's insane. Or if you go and like when I would have all my computers, I have like several computers. Some people say that's insane. What do you need all these computers for? You got enough. But it's what I want. I'm not going to say, wow, I think I should be like everybody else. I should sell out my computers, only have one computer. Because then I'll fit in. But then I would feel a strain. Not just one incident, one event, okay, you could adjust. But if you constantly, on a regular basis, always try to fit in, always try to be like everybody else, it takes its toll on you. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be who you are and to do things that you enjoy, as long as you know you're not hurting other people. I'm not hurting anybody by doing the things I do, by having, 5 or 6 computers around the house. I'm not hurting anybody by, doing other things, I make my crazy video and, people say things and I like with that death row final meal video, for example, I really did get a lot of negative stuff. I don't want to go into all the details and some of the words that people said to me. Although it actually got more positive, it got more thumbs ups than thumbs downs. It was like 2-to-1 ratio. I had to turn off all that stuff. I left the video up there only because it's getting a lot of views and it's interesting to me to see. And not only that, the countries of where people view it when I look at the analysis of it. But my whole point, and I think everything I say in my video, there's one basic message in all of my videos, and that is be yourself. Be who you are, and stop straining to be sane. Don't strain to be sane. Just be who you are. And I think you'll find that if you do that, and as long as you're not hurting other people, you'll be happy. You really will. You'll find happiness. Happiness will come to you. You don't even have to look for it. It'll find you. If you just simply be yourself and stop straining to be sane. And that's all.